You can be painting beautiful subjects all day long on hundreds of canvases, but if they are not properly composed, your pieces will only reach a certain level of mastery. Let's talk about composition today in three main parts. There's so much more to composition than just the rule of thirds or the golden ratio, so let's jump in. First, your intent for the painting has a very important part to play in composition. Before we even get into the placement of the items, what are you trying to say in this painting? What is the story that you're trying to get across? Is it a relationship of size in a still life with a very large pot and its relationship to a very small pot, the large one towering over the small one, and that's your point that you're trying to get across? Or is it more a moment in time, a brief embrace between a mother and child that is lasting for one instant that you're capturing forever on canvas? Perhaps it's a color story intent, where you have a very strong light source of a very warm color contrasted by a very cool color from another direction, much like what Zorn would often do in his paintings. Or you have a model in a blue dress with an orange background, so you're playing with a color complementary color relationship, and that is your intent. There are no shortage of intents that you can have in a painting. But it is very important to know what it is you're trying to say, what is your intent, what is the story, before you even jump into the painting. Second, there's no way to get around this. The backbone of a good composition is a strong value structure. A simple, strong value structure. Okay, so let's be clear about this. This doesn't mean that you need to be painting very simple paintings with just one subject matter, and I'm going to show you examples of why and how that's not necessary. To have a very simple value pattern, you can still have a lot going on in a painting, be telling a very elaborate story, but keep things visually very simple. For example, in this portrait by Sargent of these three sisters, you can see there's three figures, a very luxurious couch, flowers, paintings, wall hangings, wallpaper, but notice the very simple value structure. While there is a strong intent of sharing the luxurious surroundings of these three women, there's so much going on in the painting, it is kept very, very simple. The background, very, very close in value, very dark, and then the three figures and the couch and the flowers are all unified in value. Now notice there's a bit of reprieve in the background with that slight highlight that's coming across the painting back there. Cover that up, look at the painting, close your eyes, cover that up when you're looking at the painting and see what happens when it's gone. That background starts to become sort of overpowering of them, and the shapes aren't as unified. When you add in that light stroke happening up there, the two shapes merge together. Again, having a strong, simple value pattern is very vital for a strong composition because it will draw you in from across the room. Paintings were initially viewed from very far away in very large spaces, cathedrals or churches, museums, very large homes, so they needed to get the point across from a very far distance. So having a strong, simple value pattern does that exactly, pulls you in from across the room. So then when you get up closer, you see all of the many details. Here's another example by Croyer. See, there is so much going on. Dappled sunlight, many, many figures, all raising a glass, food on the table, children, adults, so much going on. But when you look at it in black and white, when you squint, it's a very simple value structure that would draw you in from across the room, that then allows your brain to start diving into the details. We cannot get around the fact that value is king, and having a strong, simple, unique and specific value structure is vital. And if you want to study one of the best masters of this, look at Andrew Wyeth. Speaking of Wyeth, he has a quote that I want to share with you as we jump into the third point. The less you have in a subject, the better the picture is. Another one from Howard Pyle is, that will never shoot you for what you leave out of the picture. We have a tendency to want to tell every story that we have currently in our mind that's possible on one canvas. But there's real power in honing down your goal, your intent, your value structure, your color array in your painting to a very, very simple scope to really have a powerful punch. Artists that do this really well are Dean Cornwell, the amazing illustrator, Howard Pyle, Andrew Wyeth, and so many more. When you're sitting down and beginning to plan a painting, maybe doing many sketches or working on location, ask yourself, what is the most important thing that I want to tell in this painting? Make it very, very, very limited so that you can have all of the excitement of brushwork and color and these other elements and really have a strong statement rather than being very haphazard and telling a lot of different things, having all these side quests in the painting. When I think of someone who does this very, very well, I think of Norman Rockwell. And again, having a simple statement doesn't mean you have to have nothing in the painting or only one subject. You can paint many, many things, but make it very, very specific. Everything that's included in the painting is furthering the story. When Norman Rockwell painted his amazing illustrations and paintings, he was telling one story. There were lots of items in the painting potentially that were helping to further that idea. He wasn't a minimalist by any chance, but everything that was in the painting was placed in such a way to lead the eye through the painting and to further the story of what he was sharing in his piece. Composition is undoubtedly the backbone of any painting. As I said at the beginning, you can paint beautifully any subject matter. The subject matter doesn't even matter, truly. It's how you compose them and how you present them to the viewer that makes your painting masterful or more amateurish. I hope this has been helpful. There are so many more facets of composition that we could discuss, but this just scratches the surface. Do you find composition difficult? Do you feel it's a natural strength? What is your favorite way to compose? Please drop down a comment in the comments below and let me know your thoughts. This is one of the many topics that I discuss on a twice monthly basis with the online community of artists. I paint with live, the broadcasting brushers. I hire a model and we paint for 3 hours from a 4K resolution live stream together. I'm sharing all about my process. You can see my painting, you can see my palette. You can ask me questions about composition or anything. And we're growing together as a community of painters all around the world. It is such a blast. I hope you'll consider coming to paint with us.